I know you've had your hand up for many days now, so welcome.
Hi there. Yeah, I've seen you before.
Feel really grateful to
Where
be
are you
here.
calling from?
San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, there's a question that's kind of been brewing in me the last few weeks since this started. And it's something you've kind of touched on here and there, and I'm going to try to articulate.
Thank you.
Not on this call. Yeah. So I'm finding it incredibly challenging to practice in the domain of world events, and particularly the US president. And I know even like saying that word out in the space probably ripples, and it's something you've mentioned a couple times, and notice the tendency just to go into hatred and blaming. And I read your article about the news and how even all kinds of news can be biased, and people can, even if we agree with them politically, can kind of try to make us feel upset and angry. So I feel I'm trying to bring my full practice to that. But even if I just hear direct video of words that he said or things, that I can't help but feel a lot of anger and despair.
I resonate with you because I watch his daily newscasts.
Yeah.
Which is not a healthy diet.
Yeah, I'm not at that level. I can't do that every day.
But I feel like, I mean, there are times that I will shut off the sound and wait for the other people to come on. But I do feel like I need to listen to a lot of it because I want to have my finger on the pulse of what is happening in my own country. Yeah. And so I share and really empathize with, you know, the feelings that you're expressing. And yet hatred doesn't do you any good.
Yeah.
Or me any good. It's toxic. What's more, we don't know the entirety of the interior reality. And we never did, historically speaking. So people, the victors always write the history. So we don't even know, looking back, you pick any moment in time, the history was written by the victors and, you know, not by the people who were killed or oppressed or, you know, violated or whatever. So when it comes to what is possible for us humans facing the enormity of the challenges that we face and the need for leadership that really emphasizes wisdom and compassion and some kind of authentic relationship to truth, realizing that even scientists, you know, they don't necessarily have a kind of a monopoly on the truth. And if you take 100 scientists, you'll have 100 different opinions about it, even epidemiologists. So we have to sort of not be absolutist about what we know, but not disregard what the general tendency of the evidence is. And so when we see that, of course, we get angry. Uh, and you mentioned hatred. I think underneath all of those emotions like anger and hatred is actually fear. Yeah. We live on an ocean of fear.
Yeah.
And it's not just we, the ones who like don't like one side of it, because the people who are on the other side, they're also living on an ocean of fear and they don't like the other side. Totally. So then you've got this dualism where everybody is projecting horrible motivations on everybody else. And then it's a blame game. And what I've been suggesting over the past 3 weeks, and I will continue to talk about it, I feel, as long as it is making sense to people and you feel receptive to at least hearing it, is that this pandemic really, I think, provides us with an opportunity to wake up to certain aspects of the way we conduct our lives as nation states that are not working, and that even the capitalist model for progress and for elevating the level of well-being of all people on the planet, well, it's not doing such a great job. And we need to therefore look at these kinds of things, not to make one side the enemy and then go to war with the enemy, because, you know, a lot of times that's like your own family members also feel completely differently from the way you do.
Totally.
But how do we, as a body politic, as cells of the planetary, you know, sort of human domain, optimize well-being and minimize harm for everybody? And pandemics, this is not the first pandemic. It's not going to be the last pandemic. So there are lessons to be learned here. This is not going to be the last economic collapse. There are lessons to be learned here about the people who are the most vulnerable in our society. And we can't abandon them without abandoning our own integrity as human beings. But we do, and then we go unconscious about it, and we don't think about it because maybe we have enough food, or we have a house, or we have shelter. But what about those people that are unhoused and that lost their jobs? That 22 million people in this country alone. And the farmers are plowing food and spilling milk into the earth while people are waiting by the thousands for their families to get food in long lines of cars. So there's obviously something wrong with this picture. And my hope is that we're going to be able to learn from this. And one of the reasons that I do what I do is because I'm so inspired by the community that's just arisen in this one little corner of the internet that we're offering these kinds of practices. And I really feel that this could be Archimedes' fulcrum for, in some sense, bringing mindfulness into the mainstream in such a way that we'll be able to deal with those shadow forces or the forces of darkness that are explicitly and intentionally trying to corrupt people's minds by putting out all sorts of falsehoods, all sorts of misinformation. And there's actually, you know, a lot of evidence that that's being conducted as a war. Yeah. That different countries are actually warring on each other to try to mess up people's heads about even what to think about the candidates that are up for election. Yeah. So that's a long-winded response to your, and I hope it's helpful, because each one of us has to figure out, well, how much news we can stomach or not, what to do with the fact that Donald Trump has in some way hacked his way into everybody's head on the entire planet.
Totally.
That's a certain kind of genius. I mean, not anybody could do that.
No, yeah.
I mean, not anybody could do that.
Yeah.
There are so many reasons why he should be in jail, but he's not, but all his compatriots are. You know, it's like, so there's some koan that's being offered up to us. Yeah. That it cannot focus on Donald Trump. He's a symptom of something, a malaise, a discontent, a dukkha, an ignorance, a kind of delusional space in which even if we have what we want, we're impoverished. And some of the poorest people on the planet are in some sense simultaneously the most vulnerable, but maybe the most sane, because they know what's going on. We don't have to explain injustice to them. We don't have to explain how the laws are all oriented towards the privileged and the wealthy and white people. So this is a gigantic curriculum, and none of us asked for it, but you know, it's been going on for thousands of years, actually, thousands of years. Yeah. And maybe it's time, just like with global warming, that we realize what we're doing to the planet and to ourselves and wake up. And mindfulness is, as the Buddha himself said, the direct path to realization. And it can happen in no time. It's not like now you have to meditate for 1,000 years. We don't have 1,000 years. We may not even have 100 years. I don't know if that's inspiring or depressing, Brandon, but
I feel the encouragement. I feel the community of being in it together, and I do hope it is an opportunity for
and we need to both take care of ourselves and extend ourselves, contribute, each in our own way. So it's not like I can tell you what to do. but I can encourage you to listen to your heart and trust it and realize that every moment of now may be bringing a different message. And I'm not just talking to you, Brandon, in San Francisco. I'm talking to everybody in this space because that's where I take my strength from, the fact that we all share in the distributive wholeness and awareness of humanity. So we all have responsibilities, but we also all already have a wisdom that we often don't recognize in ourselves, never mind in each other. And that's where the Sangha element of this comes in. That's where the power of community comes in, just like we're all the cells of the one body politic, just the way you have trillions and tens and hundreds of trillions of cells in your body. And all of them need to be nurtured and get oxygen through the blood supply. That's one of the reasons that I love guiding body scans, because I mean, we could have done this body scan for 3 hours, because when you start to move into the body, even if you've lost regions of the body, even if you're missing an arm and a leg or a breast or a uterus or hips or whatever it is, or legs, uh, the miracle of having a human body in the moment when we're alive is like mind-blowing. And that medicine has a lot of lessons to teach us around how to actually honor the full dimensionality of who we are. And of course, medicine and meditation are linked at the etymological hip. So the meditation in some sense becomes the blood supply or the vitality of the breath, or what the yogis would call prana, that in some sense puts us in touch with prajna, which is wisdom, and non-dual wisdom, not a us versus them wisdom. And you know, that's a tall order. I mean, but if I don't see what else there is on the horizon aside from that, if we're going to move in the direction of well-being as opposed to profound dystopia.
Thank you, Jon. Very supportive.
Thank you.
Encouraging. Thanks.